Good evening, everyone. Welcome back, future lawyers, to day 12 of our bar. We are now 177 days away from the bar examination. Today, our topic is the classification of Philippine courts. We will map out the different types of courts in our judicial system and understand how their nature dictates the kind of cases they can. But before we dive into today's lecture, let us draw inspiration from our guiding verse for today, Isaiah chapter 33, verse 22. For the Lord is our judge, the Lord is our lawgiver, the Lord is our king. It is he who will save us. In remedial law, we spend so much time figuring out which court has the power to hear a case. This verse is a beautiful reminder that while earthly courts have strict classification and limited jurisdictions, there is only one supreme judge who holds ultimate and unlimited authority over our lives. Now, before we jump into the classification of courts, let us first resolve the assignment I gave you from day 9 regarding procedural laws applicable to actions pending at the time of promulgation. Here is the question we left hanging 3 days ago. We have Don, who is on trial for corporate fraud allegedly committed in 2016. In 2018, a new law lowered the required quantum of evidence from proof beyond reasonable doubt down to merely clear and convincing evidence. The prosecutor wants to apply this new rule retroactively to Don's pending case. Is the prosecutor correct? Let's see. Let us reveal the suggested answer. For this, we will use the Beer method of answering. If you wrote something similar to this, give yourself full points. First, the binary. No, the public prosecutor is not correct. Second, the enabling law. Jurisprudence provides that while procedural rules generally apply retroactively to pending actions, an exception exists in criminal cases where the new rule permits or requires a lesser quantum of evidence to convict than what was required at the time of commission of the offense, as this constitutes an unconstitutional ex post facto law. Third, the evaluation. Here, the retroactive application of the new procedural statute would violate the constitutional prohibition against ex post facto laws. By evaluating Don's pending case using the new clear and convincing evidence standard, the court would be applying lesser quantum of evidence to convict him than the proof beyond reasonable doubt standard required back in 2016 when the alleged crime was committed. And finally, the resolution. Thus, the public prosecutor is not correct in arguing for the retroactive application of this procedural law to Don's pending case. Notice how we went straight for the exact exception, the prohibition against ex post facto law. The examiner immediately sees that you understand the precise limitation of applying procedural rules to pending criminal action. Now, let us proceed to today's main topic. To properly digest the classification of Philippine courts, we will use our four-level analytical framework, the Beer silos. First, the big picture, placing us within the silos. Second, the essential pillar, where we categorize courts based on their creation, function, and scope. Third, the elemental principle, where we focus on how these classifications interact specifically on exclusive and concurrent jurisdictions. And fourth, the root level, looking at a specific Supreme Court ruling that clarifies the character of special commercial courts. For our big picture, we are wrapping up the first major Roman numeral of our syllabus, general principle. Study the classification of courts because knowing the type of court you are dealing with is the absolute first step before you can even file a pleading. You cannot properly administer justice if you are knocking on the wrong door. Moving down to our essential pillar. Courts are classified in several ways. First, based on creation. We have constitutional courts and statutory courts. There is only one constitutional court in the Philippines, the Supreme Court, because it was directly created by the 1987 Constitution. All other courts, like the Court of Appeals, the RTC, the MTC, are statutory courts because they were created by laws passed by Congress, specifically BP bilang 129. Second, based on the power of review. We have original and appellate courts. Original jurisdiction means the court has the power to hear the case for the very first time. Appellate jurisdiction means the court is acting as a reviewer of a decision already made by a lower court. Continuing our essential pillar, we classify courts based on scope. We have courts of general jurisdiction and courts of limited jurisdiction. A court of general jurisdiction, like the RTC, has the power to hear almost all types of cases, except those the law explicitly assigns to another body. A court of limited jurisdiction, like the Court of Tax Appeals or family courts, can only hear very specific, narrowly defined cases. We also classify them as regular versus special courts. Regular courts are your standard judicial ladder, the MTC, RTC, CA, and SC. Special courts are those set up for very specific domains, like the Sandigan Bayan for graft cases or the Sharia's courts for Muslim personal laws. Now we reach the elemental principle, the distinction between exclusive and concurrent jurisdiction. Exclusive jurisdiction means only one specific level of court can hear the case. For example, if you have an ejectment case, you cannot file it anywhere else but the MTC. It has exclusive original jurisdiction. But what if multiple courts have the power to hear the same exact case? That is called the concurrent jurisdiction. A classic example is a petition for habeas corpus or a writ of certiorari. The Supreme Court, the Court of Appeals, and the RTC all share the concurrent power to issue these writs. But here's the catch, and this is highly testable. Just because the jurisdiction is concurrent does not mean you can just pick any court you like. This brings us to the principle of judicial hierarchy. This principle dictates that there is an ordained sequence of recourse. You must generally file your petition with the lowest ranked court that has concurrent jurisdiction. You cannot jump straight to the Supreme Court just because it shares jurisdiction with the RTC. Direct resort to the Supreme Court is strictly limited to cases of transcendental importance or pure questions of law. Let us bring down to the root level. How does the Supreme Court view this classification in practice? Let us look at the 2016 case of Concordia Condominium versus Bacolod. In this case, an ordinary civil action for injunction was mistakenly raffled to an RTC branch that was specifically designated as a special commercial court. The defendant moved to dismiss, arguing that because it is a special court, It has no jurisdiction over a general civil case. Was the defendant correct? The Supreme Court said no. An RTC designated as a special commercial court is still fundamentally an RTC, a court of general jurisdiction. The designation is merely an administrative procedure to handle commercial cases efficiently. It does not strip the judge of their inherent general jurisdiction. Therefore, the court should not dismiss the case for lack of jurisdiction, but simply redact it or refer it appropriately. To wrap up our discussion today, here is a highly possible bar question that perfectly tests your understanding of court classification and concurrent jurisdiction. Let us read it. Attorney Reyes represents a group of concerned citizens challenging the constitutionality of a newly enacted local ordinance in the City of Manila, which strictly regulates public assemblies. Believing that the ordinance blatantly violates the constitutional right to free speech, and knowing that the RTC, the Court of Appeals, and the Supreme Court have concurrent jurisdiction over special civil action for certiorari and prohibition, Attorney Reyes filed a petition directly with the Supreme Court. The City of Manila filed a comment praying for the outright dismissal of the petition, arguing that the direct resort to the Supreme Court violates the established rules of procedures. Should the Supreme Court dismiss the petition? I will leave this question with you as your assignment. Apply what we just learned about the concurrent jurisdiction and the principle of judicial hierarchy. Draft your best beer style answer, and we will reveal the suggested answer after 3 days. Before we part ways, remember our verse today from Isaiah chapter 33, verse 22. For the Lord is our judge, the Lord is our lawgiver, the Lord is our king. It is He who will save us. You will memorize many rules about the hierarchy of courts, but never forget the ultimate hierarchy in life. Trust in the Supreme Judge to guide your mind, give you peace, and reward your hard work. Keep fighting, keep grinding, and I will see you on day 30.